everyone, my name is Calvin and welcome to my watercolor tutorial for Procreate. In this video we're going to paint a watercolor moth like this one, and you could apply some of the same techniques to paint a butterfly or anything symmetrical, because in this video I'm going to show you how to use the symmetrical painting feature in Procreate. So the first thing we're going to do is open up just a new blank watercolor paper, and I'm going to do all of this with the normal brushes, pretty much all with the abstract round brush. And we're going to use the symmetrical painting feature in Procreate, and I'll show you how to set that up. So if you go down in your layers panel, just make a new layer and draw something. Obviously it doesn't reflect. So what we need to do is set up a guide. So let's go over to the wrench and then click on the canvas tab, and then where you see drawing guide, just go ahead and turn that on. And you may see some crazy thing like this appear on your artboard. Just go over to edit drawing guide, and it's going to bring up this, and basically this just changes the color of the line. It's kind of a useless feature. You can ignore all of these settings. Just make sure you go over here to symmetry, set the opacity to 29%, set the thickness to 50%, and then go into options. Make sure assisted drawing is turned on, make sure rotational symmetry is switched off, and then make sure the guide option here is set to vertical. So once that's set up, it should just basically look like a very faint vertical line on your artboard. And now when you paint, you should see that it paints symmetrically like this. Now if you don't, for example, if I make a new layer and I draw and it's not symmetrical, that just means the guides for this layer have been switched off. So if I go to my layers panel, you'll notice this layer here says assisted, and if I use that layer and I paint something, it's going to be symmetrical. So assisted means the guide is applied. So in the case of layer number 8, where it doesn't paint symmetrically, all you have to do is just tap on that layer and then click Drawing Assist. And now from now on, layer number 8 will also be symmetrical, and it will paint symmetrically. And I'm going to start by painting a really simple sketch of my moth. So I'm going to make sure I have a layer selected and it says Assisted, so my drawing will be symmetrical. And I'll go and grab the pencil tool, and I'll just do a quick sketch here, but I want to show you how I plan this out, so I won't fast forward this one. So I'm going to look at the whole artboard here, and I'm going to try to make my moth basically fit inside that sort of area. So I'm going to imagine the body of the moth in the middle, and how I plan that is I'll make a line like this, and then I'll sort of make almost like a carrot shape, like that. And then I'll draw this kind of wide circle for the body, and the head is quite small, just like this. And now the body here, the circle, I'm going to divide it with 3 lines. And that gives me these 2 evenly spaced areas or segments, and that's where the wings are going to join. So when you draw a moth or a butterfly, make sure the wings don't join with the abdomen, the carrot shape down here. Make sure they exit and then enter within one of these segments. So I'm going to draw one of these wings real quick. So I'm just going to start here, and I'm going to make it pretty soft and curving, just like that. So that's the front wing. And the back wing will be similar, except it's going to be going underneath the front wing. So I'll go like this. And just make sure that it joins back within those 2 segments. And now we have the basic wings laid out. So I'm going to zoom in and just do some eyes like this. And then I'm going to do the antenna coming right out of the point of the eye like that. And I really like to do simple antennas. Obviously you can do crazy, elaborate, curly ones. A lot of moths have some cool antennas, but I'm going to try to keep it simple for this one. So just so I don't get confused, I'm going to use the eraser brush, and I'll erase some of these lines of the sketch that I don't need. And once that's done, I can go in and sketch out some of the details I want to paint in. And for the body, I really like to keep it simple. So I'm just going to draw some simple parallel lines just to kind of segment the body. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. So here my sketch is done. I'm pretty happy with how this is planned out. So I'll make a new layer and start coloring it in. So notice how I made a new layer and it doesn't say assisted anymore. So whenever you make a new layer, you got to make sure that you click on it like that and click on Drawing Assist. And that'll make sure whenever you paint, it'll be symmetrical. So I'm going to lighten my sketch just so I can barely see it. And then I'm going to start painting this with like a light base color. So I'm going to grab the abstract round brush and select kind of a light warm gray, something like that. A pretty light color to start with. Now once I've got it colored in, I can turn off my sketch just to get a better look at this. And then I'll grab the water blender and I'll just break up pretty much any of these hard edges. I'm not even going to try to keep the hard edges that define the wings from the body. I just want this all to be one totally smooth butterfly or a moth silhouette. Okay, that's pretty good. I think I'll turn the sketch back on. And at this point, I can segment different areas of the designs and give them their own colors. So for example, right now I'm going to differentiate the lower wings. So let me make a new layer. And remember, I got to make sure it's been assisted like that. And then I'll choose something like that. And I'll use the abstract round. And I'll just fill in the wing. There we go. And I did go over the edge in a few areas. So I'll grab the eraser tool and just clean those up. And then I could go to my layers panel and set that to multiply. And then I'll lower the opacity pretty low and then just slowly raise it up until I'm happy with how the color tone is. Now I think I'll do the abdomen. So I'll make a new layer and I'll make sure it's on assist. And then I'll select a color for the abdomen. Maybe the same color but a little bit more towards blue. And then I'll just do the same thing and just go over it with the abstract round. And then I'll use the eraser tool to clean up anywhere I went over the lines. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I'll do the same thing. I'll go to this layer, set it to multiply, and then just adjust the opacity until I'm happy with the color tone. And if any of these are not sort of vibrant enough, you can always go and raise the saturation like this. Now at this point, I'm just going to merge everything together just to keep it all easier to work with on one layer. And next I'm going to do some shading. So I'll make a new layer and I'll make sure it's also on drawing assist. And I'll select a sort of a gray color, medium gray like that. And I'll just draw anywhere I want a shadow. So I want a shadow around the body. And then also I want the upper wing casting a shadow on the lower wing. So I'll just draw a line sort of along the bottom edge of that. And also along here as well. Because I want the chest of the moth sort of casting a shadow on the abdomen. So I'll set this layer to multiply. And then I'll use the eraser tool just to clean up anywhere I don't want the shadow to be. So I'll clean up the area where there needs to be like a highlight. And now I can go over here with the water blender, pretty small size actually, just so I can fit it in there. And I'm going to try to blend this up a little bit. And it's okay if you go over the edge again because you can always go back and erase it a little bit more. I just want these shadows to sort of define the boundary between similar colors. So I did end up going over the edge in a few areas, so I'll do the eraser again and just clean that up. But I think that looks pretty good. So I'll go over here to the layers panel and it's already set to multiply. I'm just going to lower it pretty much to 0 and then just slowly raise it up until I have enough contrast. Okay, that looks pretty good. So I'll just merge those together just to keep everything simple. And now I can work on the pattern. So I'll make a new layer and set that one to drawing assist. And then I'll select maybe a version of this color like that. I'll see what that looks like. I just want to do these circles here like that. Sorry about the rain in the background there. I hope that's not too loud. And I think these ones down here, maybe slightly lighter color like that. And I'll set this layer to multiply. Okay, I'm happy with that. I do want to add some lines. I think I'll do this line on this layer. And I'll do those lines a little bit differently. So let me grab the fine liner pen. So I'll just do this line like that. And then for these lines, I'm going to make a new layer. I'll set it to assist, drawing assist. And then I'll use a lighter color because I want these to be light lines. And I'll just go over it like that. And then along the body, I think I'll do a similar thing, just a little bit darker. And if you have an area where you don't like how it looks, but you don't want to paint it again, you might try just going in there with the selection tool and just selecting that area and then going to hue, saturation, and brightness and just playing with the controls there. And you might be able to find a better color. There we go. I think that looks better. Now I can turn off my sketch here and we can get a better look at this. So it looks like all I have to do now is the eyes and the antenna and also finish these details. So let me go back to that layer where I painted these details, and I'll choose more saturated color and just fill those in real quick. And I'll use the water blender to just soften those edges a little bit, kind of make it like a sort of soft bullseye. And now for the antenna, I'll turn on my sketch again and I'll make a new layer and make sure it's set to assist. And I'll do the eyes first, pretty dark gray, and I'll use the fine liner pen. And I'll just do the eyes like this, kind of like a half circle. And then the antenna are going to be really light, so I'll choose a kind of light, sort of pinkish gray color. And I'll just try like this. Something simple. And also it does look nice sometimes if you grab the water blender and just sort of blur out one side like this. Just a way to make it look kind of fuzzy. And then after that, go over it again with the eraser tool and just sort of define a harder edge. Just like that. And I think that's a cool look. And as a final touch for the details here, I want to add some detail to the body here, but I think I want to do that on a layer that's not assisted because I don't want it to have that mirrored effect. So I'll make a new layer, just a normal layer this time. I won't do the drawing assist. And I'll choose medium gray, fine liner pen, and I'll just add some like little hairs like this. And I'll set that layer to multiply. And I'll just maybe try something like that, just so it's barely there, just kind of a subtle texture. I think I like the way that looks. And there we go, this could be done, although it does look a little bit too symmetrical, so as a kind of finishing touch, you don't have to do this, but I think you should give it a try, is I'll just merge everything together onto one layer. I'm going to disable the drawing assist, so nothing I do now is going to be mirrored. I'll grab my arrow tool, and it might be on one of these, but just change it over here to warp. And then I'm going to bend some of the wings just so it's not symmetrical anymore. And that does give it a nice kind of more natural, more handmade look. There, it doesn't take much to get that. And I think I'll stretch out the final painting here just a little bit. And you will see a faint green line. That's just because of the drawing assist. You might not even be able to see it on the camera, but I can just barely see it. But don't worry about that. When you save this image as a PNG or a JPEG, that line won't show up. So there we go. That's how I paint a really simple moth. And hopefully this video showed you some of the techniques that I use for creating mirrored drawings. And also how I'd handle a sort of more complex layered design with layers of color. I think the critical thing is you just have to start out with a really light color for the whole silhouette, and then progressively add on slightly different shades of darker and darker colors to get the design that you want. So that pretty much wraps it up, but let me know what you think of this video in the comments. Other than that, guys, thank you so much for your support. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.